A serious topic, but we're going to try to have some fun with it too. Dealing with abuse with Leta Greene on board. With me today is none other than hotness herself, Leta Greene. Your book, Leta, How to Embrace Your Inner Hotness.
Yes.
An inside-out approach to a lasting makeover by Leta Greene. We had an interview on my podcast too, and and we've known each other through the National Speakers Association, and we've been friends for years. But
so when he makes cheesy faces, I'm like,
you know what, Leta? You're here at Live on Purpose TV.
Yes.
Because of a recent conversation that you and I had where a very serious topic came up. Now, we are not by our nature serious people, but we both, that was good. We both deal with serious things all the time. And this came out in the context. We shared it in another video, actually. You can link to it right up there in that corner if you want to see the other conversation that we had. The quick version is it started with a social media post that you had made. Now you're already pretty famous, and so you had a number of followers who picked up on it about this Me Too movement that's out there, and it has to do with how women in particular, but anyone who has suffered some kind of abuse or mistreatment from someone else, and they're stepping up and saying, "Hey, me too. It happened to me too."
Right.
You did this. That was
did.
pretty vulnerable.
Well, I felt like I should, but I had no idea that it was going to get the reaction that it did. I'm glad it did because I put so much out there about choosing to be happy, and now I get to give the sub-story. Because from my outside personality, you wouldn't think, I mean, I'm hotness, right?
Well, you were leading with that as your brand. Right. You're into cosmetics and makeup and makeovers and
and so it was good and it was easy, and I'm very proud of that book. But I joke that this is the pre-New Hope Star Wars.
Oh yeah, the story behind
so
the original
all the principles are true to choosing happiness and hotness in your life, which is an analogy. But this is even with this, because principles of truth do not change because of our circumstances.
That's right.
If it's dealing with not liking yourself, which was what my book was about. Oh, by the way, why I didn't like myself. This
is one of the common symptoms. In that other video, we talked about the symptoms of childhood trauma.
And at that point in my life, we didn't call it suicidal then, but I wanted to cease to exist, but I couldn't figure out how to not make a mess. Those are pretty serious. To go from being that to very mentally fragile to now I'm a mindset expert.
That's a transformation.
To, going from being an awkward tomboy with all of her teeth to... See, I made a look, right? But anyone can
I still remember that time when you had your tooth missing.
I know, that was the best.
That was awesome. She used to flip her tooth.
I was in a car accident that lost it again, and I just made it a thing, and
you got some traction out of that.
I got a lot. I actually lost a couple of engagements because I got my tooth fixed. I told my husband it was going to make us bankrupt, and he didn't. He said, "I'll just have to rely on my personality now."
Well, so all of this is context, Leta, because you're not where you used to be.
No.
And you're not where a lot of people would assume that you should be based on Me Too. That if you've been abused as a child or as a young person or even as an adult, you shouldn't be having this hot life that you're having.
I've already had people express anger at me for saying you can be happy after abuse.
So, Leta, question for you. Are you saying that we have some choice? What are our choices?
Every single day we make choices.
Right.
Every single day, every single moment, and it's not like we just make them and then we're done.
Every choice has a consequence.
Every choice has a consequence, but throughout the day, like the choice to be kind to those I live with.
Yeah.
So I may wake up in the morning and go, I am going to be really nice to my family today. But then they're people and human things happen. And I still have to choose my reaction to that.
Stuff happens all day long.
Right. And we're not talking about burying it. We're talking about building tools.
So if we tie this into handling or dealing with abuse.
Right.
Okay. Whatever that means for you. Does that mean that you've got some abuse in your past?
Sexual,
Leta,
physical,
you've had some
emotional.
of that.
Yeah.
Does it mean that you love someone or know someone who's had some abuse in their past? And
chances
if
are
you're
one or the
connected
other.
to any human being on this
Right.
planet, then probably there's someone in your human treasury who's dealing with this, and you already know who they are, most likely. So handling abuse, dealing with abuse in our life, what are our choices? I think the most obvious one that came to my mind is the one that tends to have a lot of popularity, unfortunately, and that is I can be a victim.
I call that laying yourself on the altar. I couldn't possibly.
Now, we're being dramatic about
Right.
that, but this is not funny.
It's people.
It's tragic.
It takes away. You've given up your choices.
Some people don't realize they have a choice
Right,
about
because and this is why it's so important that
Yes.
when I was abused by what I call jokingly the scum, right? Because it starts with his first name, so that works, right? He took a choice in that moment and the many moments and hours that these things occurred over years. But my response to it as a child, I did not have the tools to know how to handle that, and he was someone who groomed me to keep secrets, which led me into keeping secrets for my addict brother, which led me into
it develops a pattern, doesn't
right?
it?
And fortunately, there was something that interrupted that pattern, and that was a relationship that I made with a very important individual that I could define and think about myself differently.
Yes.
And that came from my God. And it may be annoying to tell people that that's a first step, but if we understand that we are uniquely special, like every snowflake, there may be a million, we've all heard it before, but we are uniquely special. And if that is the little kernel, there was a traumatic moment where I was actually being pursued by a group of drugged boys, and I hid in fear, and I'm breathing, and I'm crouching, and I can remember exactly what that feels like.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, God, 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 God. And I don't know if it was an angel that stood over me, a little force field, but that drugged young man walked right by me so close, I could feel the air of him walking by.
Wow.
And he didn't know where I was. In that moment, in that horrid, awful moment, I knew that something had protected me. I knew that. And since I've come forward, I've had people who've given me sacred stories they want me to share.
Yeah.
Of that moment, that it's in sometimes in the contrast of what is evil, that we find those little kernels. And if we take
evidence that there's something else.
If we take that and we like, okay, and we keep working on that relationship, the voice gets louder and louder and louder and louder. And then there were, earthly individuals that gave me additional tools, but I had to take them. I had to do the work.
Yes.
One time there was a guy that was a really nice guy, and he had the same name as my abuser. And he asked me out, and I remember him looking at me, and I thought, no. I mean, what if we dated and then we got married and that would, and I went, wait a minute. First of all, we didn't get married.
Yeah.
But that's a completely different person, that we take what's happened to us and we throw it like mud onto everything and destroy everything that's good. It gets to color
and taint everything else in our life.
Everything. And they were separate people.
What you're describing here, Leta, is common.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
sadly, abuse isn't
so
uncommon.
is abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, it's common.
Sorry, I stole your line.
Not to say that it's okay.
Right.
I don't want anybody to get that feeling here today, because it's going to happen. It has happened. It's probably happened to you or to someone that you love. So what are my choices? And we've spent a few minutes here talking about one of my choices is to be a victim.
Right.
Until you see it as a choice, it's not.
Then you get to move into...
What are the other choices? Well, if you'll open your mind to this possibility that this might be something I have some choice about, not whether I was abused or not.
That's 100%
that was decided
their fault.
for you.
100% their fault. No matter if you sat on their lap or flirted or wore something sexy.
But now, what are my choices? And I think there's some better choices than choosing the victim route. Some people use the term survivor or some similar term to that, which I prefer to the victim. You introduced another possibility. Will you share that with our listeners?
Here's the thing. I never really connected with survivor. Now, like breast cancer survivor, I like that because they still have to monitor their cancer.
Right.
They still have to monitor that. But I do not need to monitor my abuser.
No.
In fact, because of the miracle of I have released that responsibility between him and God. Not saying that I'm going to hang out with him and invite him over for dinner, but I've forgiven that situation between him and God. That's God's job.
Forgiveness. We've had some other videos about that.
Yes, so that I have now removed myself over here to get to choose my path. I'm not stuck in this. So I'm over here.
Right.
And there's a survivor, and in the survivor phase, it's like, this happened to me, and this happened to me. And I think our society is kind of having this survivor thing. But if you look up on a thesaurus, and I've never identified with it, and then I looked it up, and I was like, why do I not identify with this?
Right.
Because some of the words used to term survivor are what's left over, the residue, the trash.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't feel quite right.
Just feels sticky when you're talking about this kind of situation.
It also continues to validate and give power to something that we don't really want to empower anymore.
No, I want to gain the wisdom and the lessons.
Yes.
And my third phase, I'm in this place. And this is why I'm reaching out. I'm an advocate. I'm a defender. An advocate has been there.
Yeah, they know the lay of the land.
Right, and they can say, no, come over here. Because to the little girls...
Show them their choice.
Exactly.
Really.
And if the best it's ever going to be is the coming out of the desert and asking for water, survivor, right? If that's the best it's ever going to be, why do the hard self-work?
Right.
Why make choice by choice by choice? Because it's so much easier just to go, if that's as good as it's going to get, then let's just play the victim card the rest of my life.
Leta, thank you for being so courageous, because to step into that position of influence requires some level of vulnerability, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which is the last thing we want to do, but it's the first thing that we want.
I'm so much more comfortable just being known
others.
for being hot.
I can't throw my hair like you do yours.
Yeah, well, you know.
Leta, we're collaborating on some projects, and as we conclude this particular video, and hopefully you found this conversation helpful.
There's so much more.
There is
If
so
we're
much
going to be
more.
vulnerable, let's just help people.
Let's do it in a way that empowers people to live on purpose, to take hold of their life again. Let's not give that abuser or that trespasser or that sinner in our life any more power or ability to steal or take anything from us.
Because you can live a great life. And speaking of being vulnerable, I have a wonderful relationship with my husband in all ways.
Nice.
And of course, this is sacred, not secret.
Yes.
But an abuser keeps the relationship secret.
Secret.
You know, when I'm married, I'm probably with my husband. I have children. Right? So it's not a secret what happens.
Yeah.
But it's so sacred that it's just between he and my husband, and it's only been between my husband and I.
Right.
And that's the hope that I want to put out there, is that you can have this life that's full and wonderful and good. It's going to take some work.
Yeah.
There's simple tools. And in order to we talked.
Yeah.
You have the therapist, psychologist thing. Like you went to school. I went to makeup school.
Right. But we've got some different things we're contributing to this. If you want to connect with some of the other things that we're creating, the description down below has some ways to get in touch with us. And these are being developed right now as we speak.
It's kind of eerie from putting it together. We're like, okay, this is really great.
This is a topic that we're passionate about, that you don't have to be trapped by. And I'm so glad that you found this video. Please share it with someone else that you think would benefit from it. And let's collaborate to see if we can empower some people.
Oh, we absolutely will.
Awesome.
We absolutely will. If we're going to do it, let's do it.
Isn't it great news that there are some other choices about dealing with abuse? We don't have to go into victim mode. Let's share this message with as many people as we can.